Christ you will not have any trials. That is absolutely ridiculous. This idea is completely unbiblical, and some of the greatest people in the Bible had storms and trials in their lives. Most people in the Bible had storms and trials. I don't know anybody that was put in the scriptures that didn't have a trial or tribulation. David, you think he had some trials? Yeah. Paul, yes. The apostles, yes. Jesus, yes. Trials and tribulations, they're coming. If you're going through a season of difficulty right now, do not immediately assume that God is somehow punishing you. I think that's another tactic from the enemy. We think, like Job's friends, you must have done something wrong. Sometimes the trials and tribulations can come from our foolishness. Peter talks about that. But sometimes the trials and tribulations are just coming straight from growth. He's growing us. Do not immediately assume that God is somehow punishing you. Although the Lord does sometimes allow circumstances to chasten us or draw us back into fellowship with Him, trials often come into the lives of faithful Christians. There was a lady at our old church, and I always get mixed up on her age. Miss Lorraine's held 90. No, yeah, she's 10 years older than you. And she still, hey, and I don't mean, like, I don't want this to come out wrong, but I'm amazed, like, she still teaches Sunday school. And, like, loves it. It blows me away. There is generations of people who've been taught by this lady. And she wasn't just, like, teaching them at Sunday school. She, like, involved in their lives. She, like, man, she is a staple in that church. But, you want to talk about trials. She's had her kids die, before her, and terrible, like, she had a daughter that was completely normal, had a surgery, and then ended up being like a vegetable, and she took care of her for years. Like, can you imagine having a normal child, and then something happens through a surgery, and she's never the same? She took care of that kid every day. And when she got to old, she couldn't do it, and they had to put her in a care facility. She was up there every day. I don't know anymore. Man. I don't know anybody more faithful than that lady, personally. She just keeps going. Jesus' disciples were not perfect, but they were in His will, and they were obeying Him by being in that boat. Yet they experienced one of the worst storms of their lives. Do you see? You can't equate a trial-stricken life to the fact that you're not doing what you're supposed to do. They were in the boat. They were going across. They were in the will of God, and the trial came. The storm came. From their experience, we can see two specific realities of the storm. We can all agree with this one. The point one is the reality of the storm. Subpoint here is they can be unpredictable. Typically, storms are unpredictable until they're on you. We sit with all this technology in the world with tornadoes. We still sit and watch the news station to see where the tornado's going. And sometimes it's wrong. And all of a sudden, sometimes it shifts. And all of a sudden it's get under cover, get underground. You need to be underground right now. They can be unpredictable. The Sea of Galilee is 732 feet below sea level, and it often is the site of ferocious winds. The disciples were aware of that. We're aware that storms will come. But no doubt they had experienced storms on this lake before, yet on this particular day they were facing a storm unlike any other they had faced before. The disciples were fearful for their lives. I don't know if you've ever been fearful for your life, feared for your life. Unfortunately, I've experienced a couple situations in my life where I have been. But you pray a little different when that happens. I used to love my brother, down there in Fort Worth, Raleigh, Campbell. He was in World War II, and he said, "You know, guys, there was atheists in World War II also, but there was none in the foxholes." And he said, they were all praying when the bullets were flying. But the disciples neglected to consider who was with them on the ship. And that's what we need to be aware of. We need to be aware that He's with us. God is with us so we can endure the storm. Jesus was there. Jesus promised that they would pass over to the other side, remember? And He was going to fulfill His promise. Storms are unpredictable to us, but they never are to God. Nothing has ever taken God by surprise. As we go through storms and trials, God knows exactly what He's doing as He brings us through them. One of the great purposes God has in trials is to make us conformable to the image of Christ. I got to thinking about that captain of the helm, I read, it's been a couple of years ago, but there was someone in the ship that could see far off. He was up high in the ship, could see off. This is probably old school stuff, but the captain of the helm, you ever heard of the captain of the, or whatever, he's up high, he's looking. Christ is up high. He's holy, He's mighty, He's all-knowing, He's omniscient, He's omnipotent, He's omnipresent, but Christ can see. Christ knows what's going on out here when all we can see is right here. All we know is, "Oh, Lord, help us." And the Lord's like, "No, just keep going. We're going to be okay. We're going to be just fine." Romans 8:28 and 29, one of our favorite verses. Says, Romans 8:28 and 29, and we know. What do we know? That all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are called according to His purpose. For whom He did foreknow, He also did predestinate to be conformed to the image of His Son, that He might be the firstborn among many believers. During peaceful times, we have a tendency to become complacent toward God and dependent on others and ourselves. But when the storms come, we remember how much we need God's help. I just want to address something, and maybe I did last week too. I don't remember. I'm going to take a mark here real quick, and then I want to say something. He says here that we become complacent towards God and dependent on ourselves. True. We do that. But he says, but when the storms come, we remember how much we need God's help. True. Here's something that really is false teaching. The idea that God won't give us, and I know I said this last week, that God won't give us something that we can't handle. That's wrong. Could them disciples handle that storm on their own? No. Who did they have to depend on? Christ. We have to depend on God. If there's nothing, if He gives us nothing, there's nothing that God gives you that you can't, handle or whatever. Or I can't. My brain's not working this morning. I hear that all the time. It's like, no, we have to. He gives us stuff all the time we can't handle. He has to show us his hand in those situations. We have to rely on the Lord. Our hearts are suddenly humbled, and we seek God for answers in those times. It is at this time that He is able to mold us. The unpredictable storms are actually God's predictable way of helping us become more like His Son. All right, we're going to stop right there. We're going to start off next week with storms can be unmerciful. They're unexpected and they're unmerciful. Okay, Brother Tom, please close us in prayer this morning.
Our Father and our God, now we thank you for your word. Just the lessons that you give us, Father. We know that trials come to each and every one of us. And Father, you go through them with us. Help us, Father, to stay strong in the faith. And Father, it's our faith that leads us through. Father, so many things that we trust you for our salvation, but little mediocre things come in our lives, we just lose faith and trust, Father. Help us, restore to us our faith, our trust, joy of our salvation, Father, that we can just go forward and look for that blessed day that we're all going to be with you in glory and worship your name, Jesus. Thank you, Father, for this. Father, we want to ask you to bless. Thank you for the message that you laid on the pastor's heart. And it'll be a message that stirred each and every soul here. And Father, no one regret Tony Martin in this induced coma. Don't know the situation. You do, Father. We just pray that your divine will be done. Father, we just pray that the kingdom come. Your will be done in Christ's name.
Amen.